Welcome to the Swayam MOOC course NGOs and Sustainable Development, Unit 2, Module 9, Role of NGOs in National Development. Learning Objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to trace the formation of NGOs over the years, learn how NGOs are established, learn about the role and activities of NGOs for national development. What is an NGO? NGOs or non-governmental organizations are a broad category of organizations that encompass a range of groups such as private voluntary organization or civil society organizations or non-profit organizations. NGOs were originally referred to as in Article 71 of the 1945 Charter of the newly established United Nations. NGOs are organizations that are completely or largely independent of the government and are generally not commercial in nature, according to the World Bank Operation Manual of 1989. In the interest of the general public, an NGO is a group of people who offer their services towards the accomplishment of the society's broader objective. It is a non-profit endeavor for enhancing the well-being of residents and is not controlled by any government authority. NGOs assess the needs of the people and operate as a liaison between the society and the government, as they seek aid not just in the financial sector but also in the large sphere of economic, social and political structure. They do command respect on the global arena. NGOs engage in a variety of activities such as human rights, civil, social and environmental activism. On a large or small scale, they can seek to advance social or political change. NGOs are essential to the growth of any society, the enhancement of communities and for the encouragement of citizen participation. Since NGOs are registered under the Societies Registration Act, a central law for registering not-for-profit organization, their operations are presumed to have a legal standing. Now let us see the history of how NGOs were formed. Internationally, the United Nations coined the phrase non-governmental organization towards the end of the World War II, popularizing the idea ever since. However, the roots go far deeper because even before World War II, organizations like Sufi tariqas, Catholic orders and other similar religious and scientific organizations were working on a global scale for the welfare of citizens. Friends of Truth was founded in France during the 18th century to work towards more universal goals, and it had affiliates all around Europe. The Royal Generian Society was established in order to combat and ultimately eradicate smallpox. Looking at the 19th century's event, it is clear that numerous anti-slavery organizations were attempting to implement the relief measures. Let us trace the origin of NGOs in India. India is a religious country. In earlier days, people were seen to help others who were in need and felt that when they help others, they will be rewarded in the later years by God. Good deeds lead to noble outcomes and aid in creating a community that is encouraging. Beginning in the 18th and the 19th century, as individuals started to become more organized and wanted to work in a systematic way, they formed societies that provided free assistance to the afflicted. Charity is about love, not pity. This is the slogan Mother Teresa advocated and eloquently put it across India. NGOs joined together to end the pervasive sati system that was prevalent during that time. They also fought to end casteism, untouchability and other social ills including child marriage. By the 20th century, many people had begun joining themselves, and with Gandhi inspiring, many NGOs came up like the Servant of India. Later, NGOs were included in the India's 5-year plans and worked to eradicate illiteracy and to combat deadly diseases for the rural poor and the downtrodden. International regulatory organizations like the WHO, UNICEF, UNO and others started gaining momentum in emerging countries, and in India they fervently worked by raising the awareness of various matters which were of global concern. According to the statistics, there are currently about 40 lakh NGOs very active in India. This number is very huge. However, these NGOs work at different levels and in different fields. The non-governmental organizations' main concern are areas that include sanitation, education, healthcare and nutrition, to end poverty, to provide high quality education and to bring in a positive change in the nation are some of the goals and objectives of NGOs. NGO might be thought as a good Samaritan who works selflessly to further the social beneficial cause. NGOs are non-profit organizations, and the big question is, where do these NGOs get funding, money for their activities? NGOs offer business and citizen membership options. As a result, they receive money from the membership fees, sometimes from corporate donations, private funds and occasionally from government subsidies. CSR from corporate are a huge source of funding for NGOs. Now let us see how an NGO gets established. In general, NGO is an association of people and it can be established in one of the three ways. 1. Registration under the Societies Registration Act of 1860 or registration under the Indian Trust Act Organization of 1882 or registration under the Registration of Companies under Section 25 of the Companies Act of 1956. Organizations can register in any one of the above three methods. Now, if I am creating an NGO as a trust, then establishing an NGO as a trust is the quickest and most straightforward way to get started with philanthropic and humanitarian activity for the greater good, free of any fear of reprisal or favor, and is without any direct or indirect financial gain. In accordance with the goals and regulation outlined in the trust deed, it is a legal entity where the trustees operate. The trust deed contents must include the name of the trust, its address, the settlor, the trustees, the beneficiaries, what is the goal of the trust and how the trustees will be appointed or removed, and any other conditions that the settlor wants to impose. If we are going to create an NGO under the Societies Registration Act of 1860, as was previously noted, for an organization to act as an NGO, it must be well organized and must have the status and have a legal entity. The most popular way to start an NGO is by registering under the Societies Registration Act of 1860. In addition to advancing literature, science or beneficial arts, such societies are founded to advance the humanitarian goals. To broaden the scope of societies and to give them a broader meaning, certain government have made modest adjustments to the aforementioned act. Any 7 or more individuals who are associated for any literacy or scientific or charitable or other purposes listed in the section 20 of this act may formally establish themselves as a society under this act by signing a memorandum of association known as the MOA and can submit it to the registrar of societies. If we are incorporating as a non-profit company, which is section 25(1) of the company regulation of the Companies Act 1956, due to its cost and inconvenience, this option is very least preferred. At least 2 members are needed to form a private firm, while at least 7 members are needed for a public purpose. Now, let us see the 3 types of NGOs. The NGOs can be classified based on orientation, or they can be classified based on cooperation, or they can be classified based on their activities. If we are going to classify them based on their orientation, then we can classify NGOs by 4 types. One is charitable, second participatory, third service, and 4 is empowering. If we are going to classify NGOs based on cooperation, then we can classify them based on the level of cooperation at the community level, or at the city level, or at the national and at the international level. Now, we can also classify NGOs based on the type of activities they do. So, if we are going to classify them based on the activities, then we can call them as operational, campaigning, or advocacy. Now, let us see each of these types of NGOs in detail. Now, if we are going to classify the first type based on orientation, so we have seen there are 4 types. One is charitable, second service, third is participatory, and fourth is empowering. So, charitable orientation has in NGOs which work in an authoritarian capacity and holds all the power, while the beneficiary party is minimally or completely excluded from their activities. NGOs that participated in campaigns largely focused on supplying the communities of lower income groups with the things they needed, such as dress, medicine, food, housing facility, or school buildings, transport, etc. They come under this category of charitable orientation NGOs. During natural disasters such as tsunamis and cyclones, and during emergencies, these NGOs become very active. By giving impact families what they need, they play a very crucial role in contributing to the society's upheaval. The second type of orientation is the service orientation. The NGOs also work with other parties to provide service. Service oriented NGOs include those NGOs that actively work towards the aim and target the specific services and goals in their mission and advocate the impoverished section of the society in areas of education, health, and family planning. They target the particular services and objectives in their purpose of their objective and actively work towards achieving the goal of their NGOs. They contribute towards the service aspects of the society. Next, coming to the third type, which is participatory orientation NGOs. In these NGOs, a participatory approach is used, which is exemplified by self-help plans and missions in which the local communities take an active part in project organizing. They plan, they run everything independently, and they try to get donations as of cash, land, whatever needed, maybe equipments, labor, on their own. In the conventional public department project, involvement begins with the satisfaction of requirements and continues through the planning and implementation phase. Participatory coordination is the standard practice in cooperatives. The members of the community contribute to a large extent in participatory NGOs. Empowering orientation. This category includes NGOs having a focus on empowering orientation. They have a mission to harden their consciousness to strengthen their potential to obtain equal rights. Their goal is to provide assistance to the underprivileged group, make them empowered by fostering the social, political, and economical elements influencing their life. Next, coming to the types of orientation on the basis of operation at the community level, at the city, at the national, and then at the international level. If it is community based NGOs, they are the NGOs that focus on particular communities. They strive to raise the standards of that society and work in small ranges or in small groups. They represent people's own initiative at work. They frequently participate in women organizations, or it could be sports teams, or it could be academic clubs, a small neighborhood association, or local regional communities. All these come under the category of community NGOs. They make a commitment to raise awareness among the poor so that they would get better grasp their rights on the basic services and the social strata and get whatever privileges they are required, they have a right to. Next, coming to citywide NGOs. These NGOs, which is at the city level, they include organizations like the Rotary Club, Lions Club. They have corporate alliances, they have coalitions of community organizations, cultural or educational organization, and are engaged at the city level. The NGOs that fall under this category would typically include a variety of goals. Some may focus on helping the poor, while others are to help the underprivileged specifically. Next, coming to the national level NGOs. These kind of NGOs are active on the national scale, having a sizable volunteer force and pursue national interests. NGOs in this category include the Red Cross, business associations, YMCA, YWCA, etc. They also have state and duty branches or the community level branches, and they provide services to the NGOs operating at different levels in the city. Then coming to the international NGOs, this category includes non-governmental groups that plan their action on an international scale. The effect of NGOs range from sponsoring the local NGOs programs and agencies for organizing the project to embracing secular foundations such as Arana, Save the Children agencies, CARE, Oxfam, Ford and Rockefeller Foundation are some examples of international NGOs who strive to uplift the world underprivileged at large. Now, coming to the types of NGOs based on the type of activity they do, that is whether it is operational or advocacy or campaign based. Operational NGOs are those that concentrate on developing and carrying out development programs. Advocacy NGOs are NGO groups that defend or advance a certain cause and work to change public policy. Campaign NGOs are NGOs. Marketing is crucial in this category in convincing people that exactly their cause is the one on which they should spend their time and money. So, based on the activity they perform, whether it is at the operational level or whether they are advocating something to the public or whether they are taking or promoting, they are categorized based on the type of NGO. Now, let us see what are the activities that is undertaken by an NGO. There are several activities that the NGO take up depending on the type of NGOs, but generally some of the activities that any NGO takes are greening the supply of products and services, because environmental importance has been felt at every sector. Forming extensive networks of different stakeholders. It could be assessing the environmental impact of products, it could be any product or services. Monitoring and evaluation. It could include advocacy and raising awareness of using plastics or different types of drinks. So, NGOs also take up these responsibilities. Brokerage, also NGOs are involved in conflict resolution. Now, let us see each of these in details. What do we mean by greening the supply of products and services? NGOs are creating or producing goods that will lessen the effect of consumerism on the environment. Simply providing the consumer with more environmentally friendly consumption option is considered empowering. For instance, WWF is working with the retail industry to provide more sustainable food items. Additionally, it collaborates with catering industry to create a permanent WWF dish and a WWF week for the menu. All this is oriented towards reducing the effect on the environment and helping the ecosystem balance the available resources. Next, coming to the forming extensive networks of different stakeholders. NGOs collaborate with businesses and other NGOs to raise awareness of problems and collectively seek solutions. For instance, in Japan, the Green Purchasing Network or the GPN encourages green purchasing among consumers, companies and other government agencies. 3. Assessing the environmental impact of products. NGOs rate goods and services according to how they perform and how they affect the environment. So, NGOs help organization to find the impact of all products, and if it is environmental friendly, they try to promote the product among the communities, create awareness among the public. The objective of the process is to create awareness among customers so that they select products or brands that is environmentally friendly at the long run. For example, numerous consumer organizations, including those in Austria, Germany, Sweden, Norway and Netherlands, have incorporated a commitment to sustainability in their mission statements. So, consumers can access these organizations' products evaluation, and it could be in magazines, or it could be posted in the websites, or sometimes in the blogs on the environmental impact of various products sold across the world. Next, coming to NGOs also act as a monitoring and evaluating mechanism. So, monitoring is the process of measuring, documenting, gathering and analyzing the data on how a product or a process is being carried out in the organization. So, if they found there are any deviations from what is expected, or if they are going to cause harm to the environment, then the monitoring agencies in the NGOs puts up a tag and informs the public of the detrimental effects of these processes. The monitoring process consists of detecting deviations from the plan, diagnosing the causes for the deviations and taking corrective actions. NGOs act as a watchdog or act as an independent auditor for the government, and the corporate performance is evaluated so that accountability is brought in the organization setup. Evaluation is a constant activity with the goal of improving and correcting the action to make them more permanent and efficient. This includes several facets, and starting from the program planning up to the program execution. The conception, efficiency, effectiveness, the expenses, everything is evaluated, and environmental impact from these processes are evaluated and is published so that the common man is aware of the effect of the products. The process of evaluation should cover various points such as ensuring information support, verifying the relevance, assess adequacy, review progress, assess efficiency, assess the effectiveness, assess the impact. All these include part of the evaluation process. After it is evaluated, the document the impact of the product on the environment is documented and published. Next, coming advocacy and raising awareness. After the NGO has found out, has monitored and evaluated, it has already documented the effects of the various products, whether the product is environmental friendly or it is going to cause some harm to the health of the human, or it is going to cause harm to the environmental ecosystem. So, next is propagating this among the public. So, every person's voice is represented through the NGOs and it is taken to the corporate. Undertaking research, analysis, educating the public are the important agenda that the NGOs take up. They do this through creating road shows, creating training programs, and sometimes conducting projects to create an awareness among the public. It could be through media campaigns or other forms of activism. Next, coming to brokerage, which is one of the activities of an NGO. It acts as an agent between various sectors and group and ensures that the negotiation takes in a positive manner and a win-win solution is arrived between the public, the human consumer and the corporate world. Next, coming to conflict resolution. Whenever there is a deviation, automatically there is a hue and cry, and conflict resolution strategies come into effect. So, NGOs come in as a mediator and it facilitates in the conflict resolution process between the consumer and the corporate whenever there are deviations from the rule. Now, let us see the role of NGOs in national development. The various functions NGOs perform which helps in the national development include human rights, child rights protection, poverty eradication, animal rights, preventing social injustice, conservation of the environment, taking care of the aged people, empowering women. Some of the issues which are helping towards national development are taken up by the NGOs. Further, it also includes disease control and others. Health and nutrition aspects are covered by some NGOs. Wildlife conservation is taken up by a few NGOs. Hygiene and sanitation conditions of the society is also looked at by some NGOs. So, they act as a watchdog, and the NGOs ensure that the common person is not affected by the surrounding environment. Humanitarian relief is provided. Education plan and literacy rate increase is also undertaken by a few NGOs. Further, sometimes during wars, there are refugees left vulnerably, and NGOs take up this process of taking care of the refugees also. There are several such activities which NGOs take up and ensure that they are taking care finally of the upliftment of the society. So, now let us see the responsibility of NGO towards sustainability. No one is sacrificing their immediate needs or destroying the natural resources to further their own selfish interests. However, in the long run, we find that every individual knowingly or unknowingly are consuming the resources of the environment. To that extent, are we giving back to the environment? Are we giving back to the society? This is again monitored, this is evaluated by the NGO. So, in such instances, they act as an auditor to keep a check on the corporate as well as on the consumer, whether we are on track in preserving the environment. So, in that instances, NGOs act as a monitoring agency in checking, in controlling the process in which we consume the products. Many NGOs are devoted to the purpose of educating the public about sustainable development. Local empowerment and promotion of ethical business practices are brought about by sustainable development, and NGOs take up this responsibility in educating the public about sustainable development and bringing in sustainable products into the consumer market. NGOs like the Vasudha Foundation, VSS India and Abhinav are working to spread the understanding of resource conservation. Next, coming to healthcare. Any country's development must take healthcare into consideration. Numerous NGOs are working all the year round in India to transform the healthcare system for the older people and for the children. They are ensuring that the necessary provisions are given for the children as well as to the adult. Healthcare foundations such as HelpAge India, Smile Foundation, Rural Healthcare Foundation are working diligently to take care of the healthcare system in India and to provide the necessary food and provisions for the underprivileged. Next, coming to the education. Numerous organizations, NGOs are working in India to revitalize and revolutionize the education system among youngsters, because the younger generations of today determine the destiny of tomorrow. In addition to giving them an education, they prevent hundreds of children from getting caught up in the vicious circle of child labor. Throughout the year, NGOs like Teach for India, that is TFI, Pratham and Make a Difference, which is commonly known as MAD, Bhumi, all of these NGOs work very diligently to educate the underprivileged and ensure that they do not get into child labor. These NGOs also hold parent focused workshops to educate the parents and make them understand that the value of the child is very important in the long run. Next, building community participation. NGOs also take up the responsibility of building the community participation by having workshops, by engaging the community in meaningful conversations, especially in the rural and remote areas, so that the underprivileged sector of the society is brought into the main forum. Numerous NGOs are attempting to preserve and promote India's rich cultural diversity. They have several groups participating from all around the world to work towards the goals of the NGOs. Women empowerment. NGOs have a very important role in empowering women, and this is very clearly witnessed in India. They have removed the sati system, and today we find women in small help groups contributing a lot towards national development at a very small scale. So, the NGOs help the self-help groups to understand the ways and mechanisms of doing small businesses. They try to fight for women's empowerment, and they try to contribute in a large way, so that women are also brought into the workforce and they are also contributing to the national economy. A few examples include educating women, lessening the rate of women feticide, providing employment for women, bringing down the dowry system or the household domestic cruelty. All these activities are taken up by NGOs, so that women are given a position in the society, and they are economically and financially empowered. Still, there are certain issues which NGOs are still working on to abolish gender discrimination in some areas. Numerous organizations like the SEWA, the Agrani Foundation, the Eklavya, and the Environmental Action Group, among others, are working towards these causes for uplifting women in India. In addition, NGOs actively contribute to the eradication of diseases like polio, etc., malnutrition, amnesia, and medical facilities are provided to these underprivileged, undernourished children. Even those with AIDS and HIV are given assistance, so they won't be shunned by society by the NGOs. Now, let us see a few questions and answers to understand this topic better. How is an NGO established? So, an NGO can be established by a society under the Societies Registration Act after complying with all the provisions related to its formation. The set of rules governing the formation of the society are different from state to state. However, by and large, the process is common in majority of the states. When did NGO movement start in India? Servants of India, a secular NGO, was established in 1905. Mahatma Gandhi's return to India in 1916 shifted the focus of development activities to economic self-sufficiency. His Swadeshi movement, which advocated economic self-sufficiency through small-scale local production, swept across India. India's first NGO, if we want to if we want to find out who was the first NGO, then as per the records, it is stated that it is Tagore's nephew, Sri Gagandranath Tagore, in the year 1917 helped weavers and artisans in Calcutta, and they formed an NGO. The Bengal Home Industries Association was founded, and this was registered under the Indian Companies Act 7 of section 26 in 1917. So, this is as per the internet survey, this is found to be the first NGO officially registered. However, there were several NGOs which were formed informally, and NGOs are nothing but association of people joining together and working for a public cause. So, prior to this, there were several NGOs who were formed, and they were working for the society upliftment, but the officially recorded NGO is one that is stated here. Globally, it is said that the Anti-Slavery Society is the first NGO. Non-government organizations started emerging during the 18th centuries internationally. The Anti-Slavery Society, which was formed in 1839, is, as per the record, is the first international NGO. This is a registered NGO, and hence it is called as the first NGO. This organization has a profound impact on society, and it stimulated the founding of many other NGOs, and it started the opening of several NGOs to get registered. Next, coming to the third question, we have many days celebrated: Father's Day, Mother's Day. So, do we have an NGO day observed? Yes, we do have an NGO day. World NGO Day is observed annually on the 27th of February every year. So, to summarize, in this module we have traced the formation of NGOs over the years. We have learnt how an NGO gets established, and we have learnt about the role and activities of NGOs for national development. Thank you.